Same old man. Here's Johnny.
You're gonna need a big approach.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Welcome to this podcast review for August 5th, 2025, and I'm Jaden Duran.
And I'm Brendan Cassidy.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. We are recording this on the 5th, as I just noted, but when this is released, it is probably Thursday, August 7th, which means happy birthday to me. I am 40 years old.
You old man. No, I should say
I'm
you
old.
young old man.
I'm a young old man, but I have officially crossed the threshold, and it is the beginning of the end.
I never understood this whole term of how we define a young adult, because when you turn 40, that's when I think you're actually a young adult.
You might think that. I don't feel that way. I feel pretty old, if I'm being honest. Probably because I have two kids and I'm exhausted all the time.
It's because you dislocated your knee like 17
That
times.
too. Yeah, my body's falling apart. I went for a run last night, and today I woke up very sore. You know,
Oh, man.
getting old. that whole thing. Turn 40.
Well,
The big
we'll
40
see what
number.
happens. I still have 5 more years, so maybe I'll be saying the exact same thing in 5 years.
Perhaps that is the case. But we are not here to be sad. We are here to laugh and have a great time as we talk about the new rebooted / sequel, The Naked Gun, starring Liam Neeson. Before we get into it, what are your thoughts on the original series?
Love them. Absolutely love them. Yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah.
I don't even know if I can rank them because I think all 3 of them are really funny. I would probably say I like the first 2 more than the third one, primarily because the first 2 still have the Zucker brothers tied to them. The third one was directed by someone else, and it does have a different energy. You can certainly sense that. But I still think all 3 of them are very funny and very cleverly titled as well. When we did our top 5 spoof movies on episode 648, I did put that first Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad as my number 1 because it was very much a formative film for me. That film in many ways kind of defined my comedic funny bone, my sense of humor. Not everyone finds me funny, but I would say those people don't deserve the Naked Gun in their lives.
There you go.
It's a very, very nostalgic film for me. It was introduced to me because of my dad. He loved those movies. He loved Leslie Nielsen's comedic stylings, especially stemming all the way back to Airplane. So I have a lot of fond memories of that movie.
Yeah, I think they're fun as well. I really enjoy them. I do like films that are irreverent in this way, that are silly, brazenly stupid. Those tend to be some of my favorite comedies. Like, that's what I've loved so much about, and this isn't necessarily spoof, although you could perhaps put it into spoof, some of those really dumb Martin Lawrence comedies of the 2000s.
Oh, like Blue Streak?
When I was in,
I love Blue Streak.
Yes.
Black Knight, National Security.
National Security. Like, those are just so dumb.
Oh, let's not
really
forget
fun.
let's not forget about Big Mama's House.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I do miss having those. We don't tend to get those a lot these days, and even the dumb comedies we do get, there's something missing in them.
Well,
I don't know if I can describe what that is, but
I think I know what some of that is, or at least one of those things are. And it's one of those things that really nicely differentiates something like the new Naked Gun from something like Happy Gilmore 2, for instance. Because Adam Sandler, especially Adam Sandler in the 90s and early 2000s, he also fits that bill of kind of silly, irreverent comedy where the jokiness is the joke, right? That really is kind of the purpose of those movies. And here comes Happy Gilmore 2 that is really desperately trying to be a comedic legacy sequel. And then here's The Naked Gun, which is a legacy sequel and doesn't give one shit about being a legacy sequel. And I think that might be the difference.
Naked Gun movie.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it simply comes down to being clever inside of your comedic gags, which we'll get into with the Naked Gun, but I very much do feel that way about the Naked Gun comparatively to Happy Gilmore 2, for example, which didn't feel inspired. It felt like they wrote that movie in a night just to have a sequel, and then they quickly shot it and put it up on Netflix. And look, the marketing was great. It did extremely well. It was a huge hit for Netflix. But I don't think the craft was there.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot more thought and care put into the Naked Gun. Funny
Which is
enough,
weird to say for a movie
comparatively.
like this.
Yeah, it's so much more clever, and you can see it on the screen. You can see it in the dialogue, as dumb as it is, but they put thoughtfulness into that dumbness. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe
That should be the pull quote on the poster: thoughtfulness in the dumbness.
Exactly. A lot of comedies these days, I do think, are missing some of that. I think either writers are, they get paid and just churn out something that some sort of schlock that the studio execs approve, frivolously, and that's how they're made. I mean, I don't know.
Sometimes it takes skill to be stupid, right?
Yeah.
You have to try to be
exactly.
stupid. This
gotta try to be
movie,
dumb.
as we're going to talk about, desperately tries to be stupid.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
and it works.
Okay. Well, with that said, we're already giving away our hand here a little bit. I will say before we get into this, our opening thoughts, we'll do our best to be vague and ambiguous. I imagine most of you listening to this have seen the film, and you're coming here to have some fun with us. So we are going to get into some spoilers here. If you have not seen this film and you're just wanting to gauge our thoughts on it, we'll do that for opening thoughts. We'll be spoiler free here at the beginning, and then we're quickly going to get into spoilers. So just a fair warning there. With that said, The Naked Gun is directed by Akiva Schaffer. It stars Liam Neeson, Pamela Anderson, Paul Walter Hauser, Danny Houston, Kevin Durand, and a bunch of others that come and go throughout the film. If you're not familiar with The Naked Gun, only one man has the particular set of skills to lead the police squad and save the world. Well done.
This movie missed out on a golden opportunity to call it The Taken Gun.
Could you imagine? The Taken Naked Gun. Maybe that's the sequel. Maybe they're saving that for the sequel.
They're waiting. They're waiting to see how well this movie does before they do The Taken Naked Gun.
Yeah. Brendan, what did you think about The Naked Gun?
Opening thoughts. I laughed a lot. Those are my opening thoughts. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else we are supposed to talk about this movie because there are a million jokes a minute. It is one of those movies.
I have no notes. I couldn't take notes during this because I didn't want to miss anything. And I know I missed a lot of jokes because there's a lot that happens in the background that you have to be attentive for that will take multiple viewings. We often say sometimes great movies take multiple viewings to fully understand it. The Naked Gun movies also fall into that category, but in a very different way. So I think it's very successful in what it does, very nostalgically successful, because a lot of us, especially those of us at our age, we sort of miss this type of spoof movie, right? There was definitely an unfortunate epidemic of them that completely failed. Movies like, what do they call them? The movie movies, right? Epic movie, disaster movie, many of which we just want to completely forget ever existed. They kind of destroyed the genre in many ways, but they prove how hard it is to pull these off. That it does take skill to be a little bit stupid and to be very smart with your stupidity. And I think this is a film that does that. So I laughed a lot. That's my review. It's a difficult movie to review on a podcast, right, JD? Sometimes the movies you love the most for varying reasons are very difficult to talk about in a podcast because they're just not really designed for it. There are other things we can talk about that this movie might inspire us to talk about, but much of what we're going to say about the movie itself is, did we laugh? Yes. What were some of your favorite jokes? This or
That's
that.
it. Yeah.
That's basically
That's the best
it.
way to talk about this movie. I agree. So I'll just reiterate, I had the best time. It was the hardest I laughed in a theater in a really, really long time. It is delightfully silly. It retains a 90s energy that I really love.
Mhm.
Again, I think there was a lot of care put into these jokes, as dumb and ridiculous as they are. And do not get me wrong, this is not a sophisticated comedy by any stretch of the imagination. We are
Mhm.
not talking about Key and Peele here. This is a very different type of comedy.
Yep.
It is so dumb. It is so, so dumb. But the way it goes about being clever inside that dumbness, as we mentioned earlier, I do think is great. I walked out of the theater literally laughing out loud. I was walking to my truck
Just
thinking
think
about
about some of the things that
some
made you
of these
laugh.
jokes, and I was laughing to myself as I was going home. And the whole day, the rest of the day, I would just find myself spontaneously bursting into laughter thinking about some of these jokes.
Ah,
And I think it's great.
that's why
So,
movies like this are important. That's why they're important. And that's why they need to be good. And that's why they need to be in theaters.
yes. So with that said, yeah, that's really important as well.
Hmm.
I don't know the last time I saw a comedy in a theater, because a lot of them go to streaming these days, such as a
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore
And
2, for example. I did not see
yeah,
that with a crowded
yeah.
theater.
And we should clarify when we say comedies that aren't going to theaters, we don't mean something like, Deadpool and Wolverine, for instance, which is technically a comedy, but it also more comfortably fits into another subgenre, right? We're talking about movies that are purely, solely functioning as comedies. And this is an example of that. But you're right, we don't really get many of them in theaters anymore. And we ultimately should, because it is a very communal experience. I seeing this in a crowd and laughing with everyone at the same jokes almost felt like a religious experience in a way. Like we all found something to agree upon, which was very soothing to see, and I
Yeah.
love that. And also, what I love about this movie too is that even though it is purely a comedy, it is surprisingly well made for a movie like this.
It is.
Like we often talk about how comedies, spoof movies specifically like this, you sometimes have to pay attention to what's in the background because you might miss it. That means we kind of have to say these movies are well shot, right? We have to consider that there's a very different level of artfulness to pull off this type of silliness. And this is a movie that's very much aware of that and is very delicate in how it's trying to craft those things.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, going back to how this film cares about its silliness, it
Mhm.
certainly goes into the craft, goes into the performances. We'll talk about specifically why these performances are effective, but it
Mhm.
genuinely is some of the very best work from Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson.
I've seen
Remarkable stuff. Two
I've
of their
seen
best
some
performances.
I've seen some people say that there should be Oscar campaigns for both of them, and I don't necessarily disagree. One thing I noted when I came out of the theater was, yes, this movie is funny, but it's also among the best love stories of the year as well. And I think
Sure,
it's partially because Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson have such great chemistry on screen,
they do.
much
Yeah.
like Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley in the original movies. It's a very similar energy, and how appropriate that Liam and Pamela are now dating in real life. But when you
Yeah.
watch this movie, you can kind of buy that. Like it actually does feel genuine. And that adds a weird sweetness to this movie, a tender quality that it's not necessarily going for, but I love that it's here. I absolutely love that it's here.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I'm excited to talk about this specifically. So,
Hmm.
for the rest of this conversation, we are going into spoilers. We're going to be talking about these jokes and gags in detail. So, fair warning for the rest of this conversation. Let's just start off here. What was your favorite gag? What was your favorite joke?
Cherry Roosevelt, that fat bozo eating spaghetti. Not even close. Not even close.
So, I think what's really funny about that joke, you get the initial one when Liam Neeson's character is revealing it for the first time, coming up with it. But I think my favorite use of that entire gag is at the end of the film when Danny Houston's Richard character says it as if it's her real name, says it so plainly and matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's just brilliantly delivered.
And I don't think he says just Miss Spaghetti. I think he actually says
The
Miss
whole name. The whole name.
It's like, oh, hello there, Miss Cherry Roosevelt, fat bozo eating spaghetti.
It just
It's actually kind of a tongue twister. So well done, Danny
yes.
Houston, for really pulling that off as
Yeah.
smoothly as possible.
Just lays it out there as if it was her real name. It is brilliant. It is. That is so good.
He doesn't stop there when Frank Drebin, comes up with that name because he had the best name for her, Cherry Roosevelt. That's a great fake name, but had to continue
the gag.
eating spaghetti.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so incredible. There are so many jokes here. I don't know which one is my favorite. I have two. Can I talk about two of them?
You may talk about two.
One of them is a joke revolving the characters, and one of them is a sight gag. I almost fell out of my chair when at the end of the film, there is an event that takes place at this arena, and the name of the arena is PonziScheme.com.
I love that. Yeah. That's something I did make a note of because I didn't want to forget that.
That was so good. So good.
But you have to look for that one because many people are on screen kind of blocking it from view. So you have to does that say what I think it says? I think that's the brilliance of comedies like this, is that when there's an obvious joke somewhere in the background, they don't always call attention to it. And this one doesn't. You have to look for it. You have to do the work to find it so that when you do, it's almost like you're rewarded for it. Like you actually feel like you're accomplishing something by discovering it, which makes it funnier in a way.
Yeah. It's an incredible gag that anyone can laugh at, but it is especially funny here in the Miami area because if you remember, I believe this was 2021, somewhere around there, the Miami Heat had a deal with the cryptocurrency FTX, and they renamed their arena FTX Arena. And famously, I forget the name of the CEO, the guy that ran it, but he went to jail for defrauding everybody that invested with FTX. So it was literally a Ponzi scheme.
That's a great point. That is a great point.
I don't know if that was the specific inspiration for that joke, but that immediately came to mind for me. So PonziScheme.com Arena was just perfect. So good.
I laughed at that too. But yeah, I didn't quite have that context. At least I didn't in the moment. That certainly makes it smarter and much funnier as well.
Oh my gosh. So good. And on that same token, another sight gag, because the camera shows the top of the arena. You see PonziScheme.com Arena there on the top of it. And then we get this overhead shot of the mat. And one of the sponsors on the mat is NPR, which I
love that. I saw that too. That was great.
Oh, it's so great. Just love that. Just like that kind of stuff is brilliant.
I love that you're picking up on some of the less obvious sight gags, because there are very obvious sight gags in the movie, such as the whole.
And we can talk about those.
We could talk about them, but a good chunk of them are more obvious, and certainly ones that people will latch onto because they're just more visible, and they're designed to be more visible. Like when the car is picked up by a literal toy crane, right? At the beginning, like things like that are those that's what people will latch onto. But I love that you're citing sight gags that are kind of blink and miss it. You really have to work for.
Yeah. Those stood out to me big time. I died laughing. PonziScheme.com Arena. I fell out of my chair. I think my favorite joke involving the characters and dialogue, and this might circle back to what you were saying about Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson, their dynamic and how great it is throughout the film. And also, it's just this idea that we see in films all the time about revenge and characters taking revenge, and how fleeting that is, how empty it is. It's not going to bring the person back from the dead if you get the revenge. How many times do you see that in movies? So we get to the end of the film when Beth is about to take her revenge on Richard, and Frank goes on this monologue about how you can't take revenge. It's not going to bring your brother back, but it would be the best feeling in the world. So don't take the revenge, even though it'll bring you the best feeling ever.
So basically, this movie is the complete antithesis to Furiosa and Mad Max saga.
Yes, very much so. I think I think there's a lot of truth to that. Because,
I mean, so. Yeah,
I've never killed a person. Maybe killing someone for revenge is empty. I don't know.
We don't advocate for that, people. We do not say that.
We don't advocate for that, but there's got to be some level of, if someone killed a family member of mine and I got revenge on them and I got them back, surely there would be some sort of satisfaction to that, even if the guilt would come later.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I love how the film, how that joke just plays on that cinematic trope, because we see that all the time with movies about revenge. Furiosa most recently. And for Frank to just be like, the best feeling ever, but
Feels
don't
good.
do it.
It feels good.
Just so good. Again, like, that's why I go back to the performance as well, because the way Neeson delivers that, it is pitch perfect.
It is so straight.
Unbelievable.
It's in the exact same spirit as Leslie Nielsen from the first 3 movies, because he plays it straight. And what's interesting is that there's really no straight man in these movies to like counterbalance the jokiness of it. I mean, I guess in a way that is Paul Walter Hauser for some bits. Like, he's a bit more aware of the jokiness that's happening, but he still participates in it, such as giving beer to minors. So there is still a stupidity in all of these characters. Even CCH Pounder, the great CCH Pounder, has a few comedic moments involving her sleeping husband that I never get old. Or the way that she says on the phone, bring me Frank Drebin immediately. He just appears.
He's just in the room. Don't wake up my husband. I love that gag too, where he's like standing up and walking, but still sleeping anyway.
Yeah. The way that this movie also has a reverence for other movies and television and just pop culture, I found really refreshing, because so many movies of this type, whether it be a comedy or even a stupid comedy like this, tend to be a bit more satirical and bitey and witty with how they try and play with pop culture tropes. But here it almost seems to be very loving, like the Mission Impossible Fallout reference.
Yeah, that whole gag was incredible.
Yeah,
it was so good.
I saw this with my wife, and she loved the movie as well. And if you were to ask her what her favorite joke is, it's when, for really no reason whatsoever, Leslie Nielsen goes on this minor monologue, basically recapping all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I asked her, like, babe, was that accurate? Is that what happened in the show? She said he got it exactly right. That is actually what happens on the show.
That's so good.
I love that.
He references Chicago at one point.
Yeah.
What was that gag? Something about electric. The only thing electric in my day were chairs, something else, and then
Catherine Zeta-Jones in
Chicago.
Yeah. Which kind of proves like this is a movie that's knowingly ripped from a different time, a very different type of movie that doesn't exist anymore, and it's trying to fix that. And it's doing so in a way that doesn't feel kind of mean-spirited or condescending to audiences for not really giving these movies a chance as of late, or even studios for giving these movies a chance of late. It's refreshing and wants people to recognize that these can be good. And I hope people do recognize that.
I knew that the film was going to be special when 30 seconds into the movie, he pulls that thing out of the
plot
the
device,
and it just says plot device. Just brilliant. Again, so simple, so dumb, to the point, but understood the assignment. That is incredible.
I agree.
Plot device. I love that. Like it's
that,
those little things that may just make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the coffee gag, throughout was incredible. Coffee being
Mr.
such
Yeah,
a prominent
and
device,
each
and
each
so
each
many
each mug gets slightly bigger and bigger each time.
just to get a new coffee, throw it away, get the bigger cup.
Mhm.
Yeah, just that whole gag never got old for me. I love that so
This
much.
is seriously one of my favorite movies of the year. It's certainly not among
It's
the
funny.
best movies of. I can probably name 10 movies that I think are technically better than this, but I'm gonna rewatch this one way more than most of them.
Yeah. Oh, it's like every joke. There were very little that didn't land for me. I was laughing almost nonstop. It's hard to keep up
That's
with them all. I
yeah.
mean, we could go through scene by scene, which would make a long conversation. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like so many of these, like the bartender sequence, I thought was really great when he's
that was
talking
great.
about you shot my brother, and they had to go get specific each time he went along. Like that
Pam
whole thing was
Pam
great.
Pam Anderson's jazz performance, which could have
Oh
been
my gosh,
that could
yes,
have that just proves how game she was for this because that could have been so cringe. And in a
yeah,
way it is very cringe, but it's like
it deliberately
knowingly
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's like knowingly cringe, and that's what makes it
yeah,
funny.
and it's juxtaposed with a really hilarious gag of Neeson's character in this back room area where Frank is having to fight off all these henchmen
Mhm.
again in this really clever way that is so absurd. But
Before
like
him
that back and
falls down
forth,
yeah, falls down the stairs and then gets a phone call from his mom.
yeah, I love all of that so much. Um,
So I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, that most of the jokes in this movie do land. I do agree. Not all of them do. A comedy like this that's pulling a joke per minute, and that's not a hyperbole. This movie is trying to pull a joke per minute. Not all of them are going to work. I will admit the night vision perceived sex acts moment in the kitchen. That one did overstay its welcome for me, and maybe that's because after it originated in I think it originated in the Naked Gun 33 and the third, where they basically made a very direct reference to the crying game, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, that was an influence on how Austin Powers did it in the second and third movies, right? So
mhm.
we've seen that joke many times, and I don't think this one does anything new with that particular joke to really warrant something kind of innovative around it, like most of the other jokes I think successfully do. That was the one I think, okay, that kind of overstays its welcome a little bit. I'm a little tired of that joke, but then of course it gets back into the rhythm when things go
Yeah,
certainly more uh, abstract when a
yeah,
mini short film is introduced involving this romance.
yeah. I mean,
And-
I agree with you. It is a trite gag, perhaps at this point.
Mhm.
I very much laughed at it, though. I don't think it overstayed its welcome in the sense that, I felt it was kind of brief. I was expecting there to be
Yeah, maybe.
more,
Yeah.
actually, and then it ended before I thought it was going to. So it actually had the opposite effect on me in that regard. And maybe
Okay.
it's also because it played huge with my crowd. That was one of the best
That was probably the
theatrical
loudest as
reactions
well
from my
for me in
crowd.
my theater. Yeah.
And then also how that then leads to the snowman sequence, to your point, is incredible. Like that whole short film is
That's
remarkable.
very Lonely Island inspired. You can certainly sense that.
Oh
I
yeah.
think in a way, Akiva Schaffer, when you look at the films that he has directed, the comedies specifically, he's got a pretty good success rate because his other films as a director include Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping,
Which I love. Yeah.
and before that, the underappreciated Hot Rod, also with
Which I
Andy
also
Samberg.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and most recently before this, he directed Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Which I don't think I've seen that one yet.
Oh, you didn't see that? It's actually pretty good.
No, I did not see Chip and Dale.
Yeah,
Good movie?
I haven't seen The Watch, which was sort of like this weird alien-like Ghostbusters riff. It was sort of a fusion of Ghostbusters and Men in Black, from what I understand. I know it wasn't well
Gotcha.
reviewed,
Yeah,
but I
I've
haven't
not
seen
seen
it.
that movie either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but those other ones I mentioned, they're good stuff. So
Yeah.
he's batting a pretty decent batting average right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. I do really like his stuff a lot, and I think this is certainly up there among his best work for sure. Again, just how everything is so inspired and cleverly handled. again,
Mhm.
it's one of those, like, maybe this review or this discussion is best served as a commentary episode where
Oh,
we
it
watch the
absolutely
film and
is.
just talk about
It's
just
a
talk and laugh as we
reaction.
go.
It's a reaction movie.
Yeah, maybe that's something we'll have to do one of these days over at Patreon or something. Yeah, because there's a lot of jokes that I could sit here and talk about. I loved when we are first introduced to, or when Drebin is first introduced to, um, the Beth character, and he says, like, I think it's through voiceover narration, but he says she was put together correctly, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. That got a really great laugh out of me.
That was great. Yeah. There are a few cameos at the end.
Yeah.
I think the most obvious one is Dave Bautista playing himself as a stand-in as Liam Neeson goes to the bathroom. The cameo that really stuck out to me that I found rather touching was Priscilla Presley herself in a very brief moment, watching. If you know the events of The Naked Gun 33 and a Third, technically watching her son, the character's son, on television make a fool of himself. So I found that weirdly touching. And so Leslie Nielsen, who sadly passed away some time ago, he's not in this movie, but his character technically is.
Yeah, there's a spiritual moment. Yeah.
He comes back as an owl.
Yeah, it's a pretty great gag too.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that as well. I'd have to mention, because it's along the same lines in terms of that when that owl comes, is the Black Eyed Peas jokes in the film. I thought were really great. That back and forth between Richard and Frank had me rolling. And then of course it comes back at the end of the film with the soundtrack. I thought was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else do we want to mention here? I know it was in the trailer, so this really worked for me. I saw a lot of people talking about this online. I didn't really watch the trailer, so the only gag that I was really aware of was the sight gag you mentioned earlier of Kevin Durant's character Sig looking through the binoculars. So that I had seen. The rest of this was fairly fresh to me. I did not really watch the trailer. So maybe this worked more for me than it did for those that saw the trailer. But the man's laughter joke I thought was really great. That I could see why they wanted to use that in the trailer, because Neeson kills
Must
that
have been
one.
joke.
Like, just so good. Like, that I thought was really great as well. Like an idiot's completed jigsaw puzzle, I was getting framed is a spectacular line of dialogue.
The whole notion that, like, when they enter police squad, the doors behind them, police is backwards, but squad isn't.
Yeah. UCLA, I see LA all the time. I live here. I just think it's great.
Like, when I hear those jokes, I'm taken back to the charm of movies like Airplane, for instance, from 1980, where someone says this woman has to be taken to a hospital. A hospital? What is it? It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Yeah. A couple of other visual gags I loved was when they first go into the police station. They're walking through I think they're going to Frank's office, but in the background we see the cold case room, and it's
a freezer.
a freezer. Yeah. Or when he gets to the car, he puts on the glove, like, you got to handle the evidence with diligence, and then he just grabs the evidence.
Yeah, he puts the glove on, but grabs it with the ungloved hand.
Yeah, just like, I love it. It's so silly and dumb, but got joy out of me. I loved it.
I want
to
get more of these, and I kind of want to ask you, do you think if this movie is successful, will it be good or bad for comedies going forward?
Okay, so for full transparency, we talked about this a little bit on the main show this last week, so
We did.
Forgive us for those that have listened to that conversation, but I think this will mostly be great for movies because And this somewhat circles back to a larger conversation we were having on episode 648 regarding this current era, this new era we might be in with superhero films not rendering $1 billion each time out. And is that going to provoke the studios to be more diverse with their content, with their films, if you will?
Yeah.
And I do think when you couple that with this recent, I guess, success of The Naked Gun and Happy Gilmore 2, I do think that we're going to get more comedies, and we might get more diversity coming from the Hollywood system. We might not have to rely on indie filmmakers to fill in those gaps, or the Netflixes and Apples of the world. But I don't think we're going to get original comedies. I don't think that's on the table. Not yet.
That's what scares me.
Maybe eventually, but I don't think that we are out of the sequel era, the reboot era, the let's stick with IP era.
Yeah.
I don't think we're out of that.
I mean, I know we're getting a new scary movie sometime soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, The Naked Gun partially works because of the series it is associated with. We kind of know what's going on here. Audiences know what's going on here. That's why they went to see it. Happy Gilmore 2 is a huge hit only because it's a legacy sequel.
Yeah.
Like on its own terms, I think it's a bad movie. Best case, it's fine. That's a film that on its own would not be like, okay, let's make more movies. And it certainly wouldn't have gotten the eyeballs that it did if it not being for that legacy sequel. So
yeah,
I don't think that those two movies are going to inspire the studios to make more original comedies.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring it up as a question, because I have seen this narrative that the success of The Naked Gun could potentially save Hollywood and save broad comedies going forward. And I don't think I'm ready to have that conversation just yet. I think it's very possible that both the success or failure of The Naked Gun could actually be bad for comedies going forward, at least in the short term, because I think it could potentially mean, oh, we're just going to get reboots of these classic spoof movies again. We're going to get a new Top Secret and a new Airplane or something like that, which I don't think that's the right message to learn from this. And if we know anything, if history is always going to repeat itself, Hollywood likes to learn the wrong lessons. That's kind of their MO in many ways.
And that's it. I mean, and look, again, like, I think I understand their mentality because the success of these two are tied to the fact that they are part of a franchise.
Yeah.
Or in the case of Happy Gilmore 2, it's a sequel to a beloved comedy from the 90s. So,
yeah,
I mean, we need to see them. And again, I don't know if they're going to be willing to do this, but the only way to know is for them to make an original comedy and put it in the hands of artists, comedians that can make it work, like a Naked Gun, and see what results you get. If people still go and it's financially viable and it's successful, then maybe we'll have our answer. But until they do that, we won't know.
That's what I at least hope they do, if they are going to go down this rabbit hole of just sequelizing and rebooting some of these classic broad comedies. We already know we're getting a new Spaceballs sometime soon. But if they're going to do that, put them in theaters. Let's test the theatrical window for them to see if the audience is still there. And that's at least a stepping stone in the right direction before we get some original broad comedies. But to your point earlier, if there's any weird, like inadvertent, like indirect catalyst that could help these broad comedies going forward, at least the originality of them, perhaps it is the lack of success as of late for Marvel and some of these superhero movies. So then it could be kind of a byproduct of how those franchises have been kind of struggling a little bit. If those movies were still massively successful and audience interest wasn't waning like we're seeing, then I think there's no way in hell we get original broad comedies in theaters for the time being. And I'm not saying this as a way to promote or cheer on the lack of success for those other movies. But if anything, it could be maybe an inadvertent byproduct of how maybe we might get to this new era of broad comedies more quickly than we would otherwise, if it is even possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. That's a great point. And at this point, I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
Want to remain hopeful that the broad comedy can be viable once again. But and I think that is going to be the case when we're talking about IP. Yeah, absolutely. A Spaceballs sequel, reboot, remake, whatever they're going to end up calling that. Will that end up being successful? Absolutely. I think it'll have a similar type of reaction, assuming that its quality is in the neighborhood of the Naked Gun. I think it'll get a similar reaction.
We're getting a new Spinal Tap this year.
We're getting a new Spinal Tap this year, so we'll see how that goes. But again, we're talking about movies that are related to properties we already know and love. So when was the last time we got an original comedy that just blew the box office away?
Anyone But You, the romantic comedy with Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney.
But do we count rom-coms as the same as broad comedies?
It's a good question. That's when things get difficult, when you deal with, sub within sub within subgenres of a genre.
Because like rom-coms, I feel like are its own thing versus the super bads of the world.
Yeah, which have a romantic element, but they're more, they have a more sexual.
But nobody looks at that as a rom-com.
No, they look at it as more of a sex comedy in many ways. Where there's maybe a little bit of romantic tension involved, but it's not about the rom-comminess, right? But yeah, that's a great question, especially after the success of what Judd Apatow produced in the mid to late 2000s. There was a huge influx of movies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Forgetting Sarah Marshall might be one of the best comedies I've ever seen, period.
I agree. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it.
But you're right. Like, it's been quite a while since we've gotten something like that really begged for theatrical release, that also begged for audience participation and received it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been 15 years. I mean, we're talking about The Naked Gun as it's this successful comedy, and we really hope that it is. And it's easy to feel that way based off of the discourse we see online and on social media. Everyone's raving about it. Everyone had a great time. A lot of people went to see this. But the reality is that was a movie made for $42 million. It is garnered $30 million at this point in time.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm pretty sure Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins did on the Big Picture podcast recently when they talked about The Naked Gun. But they actually talked about the highest grossing comedies of the 21st century so far. I'm not sure if you had a chance to listen to that yet.
I have not. Nope.
But when you look at the highest grossing comedies of the century so far, it's kind of bleak. Not because these are bad movies, but because it proves how broad comedies themselves are not the thing that's driving the box office in this category. Because 3 of the top 5 are Deadpool movies.
Okay.
So you kind of have to be a little bit loose with what you define as a comedy in order to actually look at this with the right kind of lens. At number 1 was Barbie.
I was going to say Barbie's probably 1.
Yep.
Then Deadpool and Wolverine, I would guess, is 2.
Yep.
And then what, Deadpool 2 after that?
Apparently number 3 is a movie called Hi Mom. It's a Chinese comedy. So one of those movies that just simply did very well in international markets. And there are a few of them in this list as well that I haven't seen.
Okay, so Deadpool 2 is the next American film, I would guess.
Yes. And then Deadpool,
and then based off of what you were saying, then the next Deadpool, the first Deadpool would follow that.
Yep. And then if we're just counting American films, just below that, Men in Black 3. Just below that, Men in
And
Black.
okay, quality aside,
Yeah.
not many of us love Men in Black 3,
No.
but that is the first film outside of the Deadpool movies. And Barbenheimer, it's its own thing. So I think that's also a caveat. What year did that come out?
Deadpool. Not Deadpool. Men in Black 3.
Men in Black 3.
That came out in 2012.
Almost 15 years ago.
And I'd say another similar example to that, The Hangover Part 2 was 2011, just a year before that.
2011.
And then a little bit before that, Ted, also 2012.
Also
So
2012.
it seems as though 2011 and 2012 was kind of the American comedy breaking point in a way.
And if we want to get even more granular about it, Men in Black is obviously a part of a trilogy. It's part of a franchise. Hangover Part 2 is a sequel to a film that was a huge, huge hit.
So
again, you were talking about sequels. Ted is the first movie you mentioned that does not have any IP, that's not tied to anything, that is an original comedy. That was 2012.
Yeah.
And what, number 7 on that list
of
the American films?
The list I have is at number 11, which includes international films, but also this is not just the 21st century. This is also including films in the 90s and leading up to that. So it's really just highest grossing comedies in general. But if we wheedle this down to just the 21st century, then yes, Ted is in the top 10.
Crazy. But in the latter half of the top 10.
Oh, like number 10, maybe number 9 if we're stretching things a little bit.
So
but, yeah,
that's wild. That's crazy.
So let's look at it this way. What are the highest grossing original broad comedies of the 21st century so far? I guess technically number 1, if you don't count Barbie, which was its own phenomenon, I guess technically number 1 was Ted if we're only looking at American movies. And then below that, Bruce Almighty.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That is wild. That is so wild. The broad comedy died an incredible death. And yeah, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, and obviously there's a lot of factors that go into this, and the studios are far from blameless. They are the major culprits, or one of the major culprits here.
I agree.
But that suggests to me that the comedy is not back. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Especially how much did Ted make? Do you have those numbers in front of you?
Again, this is just based on Wikipedia, but they are pulling from Box Office Mojo. Ted was just under 550 million.
Okay. Yeah, The Naked Gun is not going to make that.
Oh, it's definitely not going to make that.
Not even close.
If anything, The Naked Gun is a reminder of what this could be when it's good, right?
When it's good. Well, and the thing is, I think The Naked Gun is really good. And the fact that it's only pulling in 30 million, it's its opening weekend. Let's give it a few weeks. Let's give it a month. Maybe it'll get to 80 or 90 when it's all said and done. Who knows?
Maybe it'll pull in like a Pixar Elemental type run where people sort of find it as time goes on and then they start showing up. So maybe it has some longer legs as opposed to more immediate legs. That's a possibility. And I hope people find it because, these movies that we just got done talking about here that are among the highest grossing comedies of the 21st century so far, I think I like The Naked Gun more than a good chunk of them.
Yeah. What did the first Naked Gun do box office wise? Do you have those numbers? I guess I could pull it up real fast.
Yeah, I saw them earlier, but I don't recall.
I think I can pull it up real fast. Give me just a second here. I'm talking as I'm working here.
I know with this we'd have to probably adjust for inflation, just given that it's been some time.
I don't know if this is adjusted for inflation. I'm guessing not. But $78.7 million worldwide. With an opening of 9.3. So
I think
that was
I think that's
1988, of course.
I think that's I don't think that's adjusted. I think especially given that opening at 9.3, that seems pretty comparable.
Yeah,
So,
9.3 in 1,500 theaters. The new Naked Gun pulls in, and that's domestically, of course.
Mhm.
Domestically, here in the United States, $16 million in its opening, and double the theaters, right? 3,300
Yeah.
theaters. So, I mean, I guess that plays out about, it's double the opening, but also double the theater. So they're
Yeah.
kind of ish on par.
They are. And I think if I remember correctly, the opening for this new Naked Gun, it was still behind the Naked Gun 2.5 in, what was that, 1990? I think it was. But then again, that was the first sequel after people had discovered an interest in this franchise. So it kind of makes sense that would be the one that grosses the highest, because that's when interest was
makes
most
sense.
obvious.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. 1991, 2,300 theaters, so a little bit more, and an opening of 20.8.
Right.
And worldwide run of 86.9.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Again, that makes sense. That's the trajectory of a lot of franchises, so that makes sense.
Yep, it does.
This is kind of on par with the rest of those, but 2 decades later. So with inflation and everything, but then you have to consider not just inflation, but the pricing of going to the theaters, all of the home stuff that we talked about on the main show. There's a lot of factors at play here.
Yeah. There's no formula for it yet.
No. So I don't know. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. I do not think the comedy is back yet, but I do think we're going to get more sequel comedy, legacy sequels, legacy reboots. I could see that happening.
I just hope they go to theaters, and I hope they're inspired and they have the same energy and commitment that the Naked Gun here has.
Yeah. I really loved it a lot. I thought it was really great. Perhaps a commentary is warranted at some point. I wouldn't mind doing that. I had a great time with this movie.
That'd be great content.
I highly recommend it. If you agree or disagree with anything we had to say here, you can please leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think of the Naked Gun, what your favorite joke is. If you're not watching us here on YouTube, if you're just listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can email us in sessionfilm@gmail.com. All right, with that said, speaking of comedies, we have a review of the comedy drama Sorry Baby.
Yeah.
That is from A24. That is available right now. You can go and give that a listen. And that's the other end of this, right? Like, we don't get many broad comedies. What is keeping the comedy alive are our indie directors that give us the Sorry Babies of the world, the My Old Asses of the world.
Yeah, although we might end up having a different conversation next weekend if and when Freakier Friday goes gangbusters at the box office.
Honestly, and again, it's in the same vein as the Naked Gun, right? We're talking about another sequel, another legacy sequel. But I do hope it goes gangbusters just for the sake of variety, for the sake of having more movies in theaters.
And apparently we have a lot of critic friends that have seen it already, people whose opinions we do like to listen to. Apparently it's pretty good. And I'm kind of glad to hear that, because I actually really like that first one.
I like it as well. I'm looking forward to it. It's a favorite of my wife's, so I'm going to be excited to watch this new one with her. So, I'm rooting for it just for the sake of the health of the industry, for the sake of variety. I'm going to be rooting for it.
Me too.
So, we'll see. Anyway, with all that said, be sure to check out our review of Sorry Baby, episode 648. We talk about our top 5 spoof movies inspired by the Naked Gun. We have an extended version of what we just did, talking about the current state of cinema. So you can go and check that out as well. With that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the In Session Film Podcast. Don't do revenge. It's not good for you. Except it's the best feeling in the world.
Harry Roosevelt, fat bozo, eating spaghetti.